So in today's video, we're going to enter the wonderful world of esports and check out the kind of logo designs that do exist in this world. And you can follow along to see what you make of these logo designs and possibly what you would change to make them better. It's really great being able to show how a design looks, but it's even more impressive if they can actually experience the design itself, as well as understand how it feels and how it behaves. Learn more about Framer later in today's video. So if you're not familiar, esports is basically a section of gaming that is competitive, and you have different factions and different teams that exist in esports. But I have stumbled across some of the recent logo designs involved with esports, and some of the recent rebrands really did raise eyebrows with fans and also gamers alike. And on screen right now was a logo for NRG, and this was pre-rebranding. Now take a look at this logo and think to yourself, is this brandable? Is this iconic? Is it simple? Is it memorable? Or does it just look like a jumbled up mess? I've made many videos on what makes a solid, effective, and a timeless logo design, and this one falls short on pretty much every single factor. And one of those factors is the logo should work in black and white no matter what. So if we go ahead and flip this into a grayscale logo, it clearly doesn't scream being memorable or iconic in any shape or form. That's the thing you really need to tap into, is making sure the logo is iconic and memorable, but it kind of expresses the message from wherever it's coming from. And one of the messages that tech or gaming esports brands want to try and communicate is a cutting edge kind of modern style of appearance. And so ask yourself, does this letter form scream tech savvy or kind of modern to you? It really doesn't. It's just really bulky, clumsy, and almost juvenile in some respects. But anyway, let's look at the rebrand of NRG and see if it was better or if it was worse. So I'm going to be frank here, and when I first saw this rebrand, my thoughts initially jumped to something like a 1990s kind of stock market or global tech company. You know, I feel like I've seen this in some kind of 90s action movie where the villain owns a company, and this is that logo for that company. You can imagine it being called like Globotech or something like that. But the key point is that it's reminiscent of the 1990s, and that isn't something you want to bring into 2021, especially in something as cutting edge as esports. So yeah, bringing it into grayscale doesn't do it any favors, and really importantly, look at this logo and think to yourself, what is one of the key factors as to why it doesn't work? If you remember that logos need to be simple, is this one here simple? Do you think this works in terms of being simple? Well, no, those lines that make up the globe or the world really are causing this logo a lot of problems. And if we scale it down to a smaller size, you can see why it is such a problem. It just turns into a blurry kind of mess, and especially if we take this to, say, a smartphone where many users will be engaging with this logo in this day and age, it just doesn't work. I will acknowledge, however, that the typography, the logo type, is an improvement on the previous one, because this does look more modern, it does look more cutting edge, and it isn't as juvenile or kind of clumsy as the previous. And actually, I think this logo could work with just the logo type in some way, shape or form. I don't think the logo type solution is bad at all, actually. And I'm not going to do any redesigns myself, but they could play around with something, you know, like this with the letter forms and just a simple kind of shape or design solution. I haven't actually got time to go into redesigns in this video, but this is just a thought. I just think it could work in a typographic kind of solution like this. So yeah, going back through the history of NRG, we have that hideous, messy logo. Then we kind of went back in time to the 1990s. And then my suggestion is to go typographic and maybe use a kind of geometric shape somehow, shape or form. And heck, why not? Let's make an app icon out of it as well. So yeah, there is potential with that logo type. And I think the previous design and the rebrand are both pretty bad and one of the worst logos that exist in esports right now. But let's move on to the next one and see what we have in store. So this logo is for a company called Hellraisers, and right off the bat, it is more reminiscent of a kind of esports logo in the sense it's kind of cartoony or graphic. And you can see the symbolism here for Hellraisers being that H and the R in a kind of almost graffiti style sense on the eyes across what can only be seen as the devil. If you do take a look at esports in general, there are a lot of logo designs that do look like this, where they use cartoony mascots, and it is normal and it is something that's embedded in this niche sector. And that is one thing you need to remember when designing a logo. It's looking at the niche, looking at the people who are in that niche, and also the customer or the client base of that niche. So this logo isn't necessarily bad because it does fall in line with that niche sector. But of course there was scope for improvement, and obviously they did think it needed redesigning, because that's what they did. They did a redesign. But was that redesign any good, and was it justified in the final result? Well, you can be the judge of that and take a look at this redesign. So yeah, the revised logo for Hellraisers really did raise some eyebrows in the esports community, and you can see why. I mean, I was speaking about a minimal or simple logo previously, and they seem to have maybe heard that and they've gone simple, but it hasn't been executed properly. I mean, all we have are 2 lines that suggest eyebrows, and then just the logo type slapped below kind of lazily. Does this scream to you as being iconic and brandable? Would it work in many situations? This is another point you need to consider when designing a logo. It's the function and the context. Where is it going to be seen? Where is the logo going to be viewed by the target market or the audience? And in this instance, one of the main ways that an esports logo is used is on a jersey of an esports team. Now, does it stand out to you? Does it scream being iconic and brandable? To me, it kind of seems like it gets lost on the jersey, especially considering the other design we have here, a different logo that does stand out as being a logo. But yeah, it's not just me who feels this way. Pretty much the entire esports community and designers alike agree this redesign is pretty terrible. So the third edition in today's video of esports logos is one by Evil Genius. And this was their existing logo. It's kind of reminiscent of an E and a G in some respects, in an iconic geometric symbol. Now, it does go along the right path for esports in my opinion, and that is being iconic and symbolic. I think that's the best way to go for esports logos, because they need to stand out among a very busy atmosphere. But anyway, Evil Genius thought their logo was outdated and it needed a revamp, and this is what they came up with. Now, I'm all for typographic logos, and I'm all for them in the right context and the right situation, but this wasn't the right situation in my opinion. The logo type was a bit convoluted, and it does break into certain letters, making it more difficult to read. But for me, the main issue here was the lack of brandability and not being so iconic. Also, if we scale down the logo to a small size, we can see how easily things are lost with those little letters, as opposed to being an iconic symbol that's easily visible and easily remembered. Now, Evil Genius decided to run with this typographic logo for quite a while, and it's even seen here on a jersey for esports. And tell me if you think it's brandable on the front of this jersey. Do you think it's iconic? Do you think it's something that sticks in your memory as opposed to a geometric symbol? Well, again, the community voiced their opinion, and it wasn't a good one. They decided that this was a bad rebrand, and designers like myself would probably agree too. And so Evil Genius decided to go for round 2 on another rebrand, and they kind of did a 180, reverting back towards an iconic geometric style symbol. To be fair, it's just like the previous design with a few spikes added on. But anyway, it is an improvement on that rebrand, and as you can see it being used here on a gaming chair, it is iconic, it stands out, it's memorable, and I'm on board with it. I think it does work. So yeah, some of the main points to take away from this video are: always think about the context of the logo and how it's going to be used, its function. Consider the brand's message, consider the niche and the people who are engaging with that niche. Logo designing is essentially just visual communication and a way to get a message out there for a brand. And so you want that message to stick in the minds of the end user in a positive way. And after conducting a whole lot of research, it seems that the logos in the esports community are not exactly corporate and are not highly tuned and refined as you would find elsewhere in, say, fashion brands or tech companies. They're a lot more freestyle, they're a lot more kind of juvenile in a sense, and that does make sense because most gamers aren't actually, in their 40s or their 30s, most of them are younger. So interactive prototyping is the best way to communicate your app or your website idea. The sponsor of today's video, Framer, is a no-code, free-to-use tool making it easy for anyone to become a prototyper. You can insert pre-built interactive components in seconds, sliders that actually slide, and inputs that can be filled, as well as buttons that can actually be clicked. Or of course, you can create your own, complete with every state and variation you need. And that's all completely code-free thanks to the new Smart Components release. Sign up to Framer today at framer.com/Satori. And that link is going to be down in the description box below. But yeah, if you want to see more content by myself on logo designing, do click a video on screen. And until next time guys, design your future today. Peace.